Hey everyone, welcome back to Souls on Fire. It's your boy AA Ron, and I am joined with a good friend today, Dana Spring. She is the owner of Anchor and Flank. She is also designed by Dana on Instagram, and I'll post all those links later after the video. But I really appreciate, I've seen Dana grow from when I first met her. She was kind of talking about doing candles and maybe dabbling in it in a little, and she really took off. She's got what I think is an amazing brand, an amazing customer experience. And so I wanted to have her on today, like I always talked with people about what created Dana today. What brought you to where you are? Share as much or as little as you want, but we've all got kind of that past where we were living a life we thought we were supposed to live. And then at some point we said, I just want to go live the life that I want to live. So without further ado, Dan, I'm going to hand it over to you. Tell me a little bit about your story, your past, what got you to where you are today.
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you for having me on. This is super exciting. I don't often get on and talk about my past or like my story and how I got here. So this is kind of new for me. So thank you for the opportunity and the good company. Um, yeah, so as Aaron said, my name is Dana Spring. I am the owner and the like sole one woman show behind Anchor and Flank. And gosh, I'm trying to figure out where to even start. I guess I'll kind of go back. So I graduated college in 2015. I had a major in communications, a minor in American Sign Language, and zero idea what I wanted to do with my life. Um, it was kind of that push, like, yeah, get your 4 year degree and things will fall together. And then it was like, well, I got the 4 year degree, and now what the heck am I supposed to do? Like, I have no idea. Um, Cards kind of played out the next year. So 2016, I did my first season in fire. I worked seasonally in dispatch. Learned a lot. It was super cool, very out of the box. Nothing that I had ever dreamt would be in my cards. And after that first season, I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, dispatching involves communication. Maybe I could go into like emergency management, something along those lines. That didn't pan out. I ended up going down to Arizona for 2 winters, and let's see, what did I do? I worked at a coffee shop. I bartended. I worked with a 6 year old special needs deaf blind student. So he was like, I don't I don't remember what his diagnosis was, but he had a lot of things going with him. Um, so I did that for, like I said, 2 winters, and then God, I don't know. I kind of had that like weird phase of like, yeah, well, I'm just doing what I'm doing and living life and going through. Like, I never really had like a plan. There wasn't a greater purpose. There wasn't this aha moment of this is the thing that I'm meant to do. And I kind of felt like I was just floating around for a while, like waiting for an opportunity to present itself to me. And I just went with it. So then flash forward to 2020. Um, I ended up getting back into fire. It was kind of a not a fluke thing, but I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna give this a shot, see if I can get in again. Um, I ended up getting another seasonal position in dispatch just for the summer. And then that brought me down to California. I was originally supposed to do just a 2 week work assignment, and it rolled into 4 months. It was like, man, this is cool. Like, I'm doing dispatch stuff. These people are all right. I can keep working with them. If I go home, my season's going to be over. So no big deal. I'll just stay with them. Um, and then from there, was able to network with people and decided well, I've already got the dispatch side of things. Like, maybe I'll just keep going and try firefighting. So I was able to land a spot on an engine in 2021 and got my butt handed to me. um, and the whole time, like I was just kind of going through it again, like waiting for an opportunity to present itself. It was like, well, I've made connections, I've met people, I've done this a little bit. I'm just gonna kind of keep going because like I don't really know what else I'm gonna do. And the summer of 2021 was probably not even probably like physically, it was the most physically demanding thing that I've ever done. Um, I go from bartending, doing kind of random jobs to dispatching. Then all of a sudden, here I am hiking up mountains with 45, 60 pounds on my back, going out for 2 weeks at a time, camping. Um, just never imagined that I would be there. And it was exhausting mentally, just getting up day in, day out, going to this job, never really feeling like I fit in 100%. Like I was always on the outskirts, like the only female in the group. I was the older one in my particular engine, and I struggled a lot. Um, Great experiences overall, looking back, but at the time, I was like, "What the hell am I doing here?" Like I am so far out of my league. Um, and I had several days. I just woke up and was like, I want to quit. This is difficult. I'm away from my support system. Um, I'm not getting paid much at all. This is ridiculous. Like it's tough, it's hard, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. Um, and I couldn't quit. There was something in me that was like, don't give up yet. Just keep going, just keep going. So made it through that season, and I think it was like October of 2021. That's when I joined the Lions Den, which is how Aaron and I actually met. And of course, for anybody who's been in the Lions Den, there's a lot of folks in there who are like, yeah, start your own business, do your own thing, take the plunge, like believe in yourself, don't go with the mainstream 9 to 5. And I thought, well, I'm already not 9 to 5. Like I'm more like 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., but whatever. um, so it really got me thinking, like, I've been doing this fire thing and it's cool, but how cool would it be to do something for myself? And so I thought a lot for probably like the next month and a half or 2 months, like, what can I do for myself? Start some sort of a business. I don't know, just do something more, like more fulfilling. Um, I ended up talking with somebody else that was in the coaching group, and I'll spare the story, but I ended up deciding, you know what, I'm going to do a candle business. And above and beyond just doing that for myself, how cool would it be to build out this business and give back to the fire community? This has become something important in my life. By that point, I had already been with my now fiance. We'd been together through that whole fire season, whatnot. So like fire was a big part of our life at that time, still is. And I was like, I think I can do this. Like, do something for myself, but also be able to give back to this community that has very unexpectedly become like literally my life. Like, this is what I'm doing day in, day out. And I don't know, it just started falling into place. Like my fiance and I started bouncing ideas around like, hey, how cool would it be like donate back part of the profits to the community and help these folks out? Well, how cool would it be to like gear all of this stuff towards the fire community? So I did a bit of research, and it was like, well, I don't really think this has been done before. Like, you can buy Yankee candles all day long, but like tying it into this specific group of people, like Wildland Fire is a very niche community.
Mhm.
It's pretty dope. And then, like I said, it started all falling together. It was scary. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Sure.
just going from bumbling around doing those odds and ends jobs, unexpectedly falling into fire, and then being like, cool, I'm just gonna do the next thing. Like, I'm gonna start a business, and I have no idea how to do this, but I'm gonna make it work. Um, I definitely stressed out a lot, but I was like, I had this vision and I don't know how, but I'm gonna make it work. And it was, we just talked about this before coming on live. Like, I just had to start doing stuff. So setting up a website, getting into actually like making candles, figuring out where to source the products, printing off labels, all of those little things that people don't necessarily see with a small business.
Mhm.
I didn't know how to do that, but I started just doing things. And to look back, it's been almost a year since I officially like started the business. I've learned so much, and it's been such a journey, like learning and doing and getting out there and meeting people and asking questions and networking. And yeah, just getting out there and doing stuff.
So, a few questions for you.
Yeah, fire away.
So there were these, there's this moment where you described that you had worked in fire dispatch back in a while back. And then
Mhm.
when you came to California, or I'm sorry, were you in Arizona when you joined again, and then you were in dispatch, but then you moved to the actual role of being a firefighter, knowing that you might have to go out and hike, knowing that you're going to be kind of in these situations that are not easy, right?
Mhm.
Was there a moment there where you describe that process, the moment there where it's like, okay, well, you can go be a firefighter, or you can go back to dispatch, or you can kind of go back to, whatever life you had before. What was
Right.
that process? What drove you into that? Because I'm sure you now see, man, that was probably the best stepping stone I could have had for my business, continuing through this hard thing. When I wanted to
Mhm.
give up, it wasn't comfortable. And it was like, no, just keep going, stay with the fire season. So
Sure.
back at that decision point before you became a firefighter, what was that like?
Yeah, so I had actually when I went to Arizona, I was not doing fire stuff. I moved back home, must have been like 2019, thereabout. Um, and I was already like back home in Alaska when I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get back into dispatch. So it was like Alaska, Arizona, Alaska, other places, Alaska, California. So it was a little wonky in there. But part of the reason that I decided to actually do firefighting at all, if you want a permanent position with the Forest Service as a dispatcher, they have a 90-day requirement where you have to have actual fire line experience. So, if you think about it, like, you can go sit behind the radio and you can take all the phone calls and dispatch and have all these resources, whatnot, but they want you to have that actual experience doing the firefighting, like out there with the equipment, with the crew people, the crews, the engines, all that kind of stuff. And previously I had just worked for the state of Alaska, but I figured, if I decide to eventually get a position with the Forest Service somewhere at some point in time, I already know that I'm going to need those 90 days. I'm also, not really getting any younger. I would like to be married and have kids at some point in the future, and I don't really want to do that in addition to, just all that stuff going on.
Sure.
So it, like, the story of that really isn't super exciting. It was just more that thought of like, time is of essence. I need to get this done and at least have that opportunity available, regardless whether or not I decide to have that position down the road. I at least want to have it an option. I mean, yeah, literally, like I said, so when I first got into fire, it was a fluke thing. It was a suggestion from a friend. So me even deciding to become a firefighter for a season, that was completely out of the ballpark. I just knew I should probably get this done. Like, it's gonna happen sooner or later. It might as well be now.
Well, and look at where that led you, though, right? So
Yeah.
that's it's interesting to me that sometimes we do things that we want to give up on, so to speak, right? Or we're put in these hard situations. We're put in these things that it's very uncomfortable, right? But in that uncomfort, it showed you a part of yourself, right? That's where you kind of got the idea, like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to go do something for me, right? Now, and still be able to give back, right? Give back to that community and give back to what you feel passionate about.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I think the timing of it was perfect. I mean, I really don't know that I would have started this business had I not gone through a season being on the engine, especially like if I would have gone into it and then quit partway through, I don't really think I would have had the motivation.
Sure.
Being on the line and going through some of the experiences that I did, that made it more personal, where it wasn't like, oh, I just sit behind the radio and never see any of the actual stuff that happens. Like, I actually went out, experienced it. I did a little bit of the work, and I mean, fire is such a big world. Like, I feel like I only scratched the surface in my firefighting career. Huge respect to everybody who does that lifelong. Like, you guys are champs. But it really did just give me so much more appreciation for what people actually do out there on the line. And, coming out of that, I was like, there are people who do this for years and years, and people literally like die doing this job. People go to work and they're like, yeah, I'm a firefighter. I put out forest fires and it's super cool. Like, that person might not come home. And, there's people who they'll get injured on the job. Like, workman's comp, yeah, that's all right. But everybody in fire knows that system is difficult sometimes. And so like, the whole donating aspect from my business or giving back is to be able to give back to people who are injured while they're out firefighting, or to help out their families if they're struggling financially when their loved one is either injured or, dies basically like in the line of duty. So it really just made it that much more personal. And I think, like I said, if I hadn't gone through that and I hadn't made the choice, like, no, get up and keep going, I don't really know that I would have the motivation to do the business.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's important too. What we talked a little bit about before was that either one of us might not have dinner tonight, right? There's
totally
at any moment, right? Life could take an unexpected turn. Like we talked about, kind of this, in everyone's life, there's always kind of this chaos that shows up to change things up, like a forest fire coming through, just to break down, so to speak, what new growth is. So I'm going to stop on that rant, but unexpected things can happen, right?
Yes.
And there's sometimes just being aware of that, and then making the decision, like, well, you know what, I maybe I'm not best suited to be a firefighter. It was, like you described, it was very tough. You didn't really like all the things, but you gain this appreciation for
Mhm.
this job, this lifestyle, this endeavor, like what these people do. Well, how
Mhm.
can I help? Right? How can I do what I want to do and still help someone that this kind of effort, right? And so
Right.
you went down your own path. Like, okay, well, now I'm going to start with candles, and then I'm going to start making other gear that's more geared towards it. And you're able to now give back to families or communities or help out. I think that's, I don't know. I feel kind of weird saying it, but I always appreciate when you see from the outside, like how your life has always taken these little turns and these little moments, right? That have
Mhm.
put you in a position to help, right? To help more.
Right.
And everyone's got their lives, and there's no one's life is perfect, but I imagine
Mhm.
you enjoy it much more than the days where you said you were bartending or working these kind of little odd jobs, just trying to find the things that you know were paying the bills, so to speak. It's like now you're living with
Mhm.
passion. You're doing something you're invested in, and that's got to feel
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and part of it too comes from, like sitting back and being like, okay, what actual skills do I have that I can really flourish with? Like, okay, I've done firefighting for a season. Like, am I the best one out there? Absolutely not. Would I do it again? Possibly. But knowing myself and knowing my skills, I was like, how can I use my skills to actually support the cause that I care about? And that that has definitely been a process, like the bartending, working at a deaf school, working with deaf students. Like, it sounds kind of weird, but all of those things led me to my current skill set and where I am and my values and everything, where I'm like, this is how I can serve. This is how I can get, like, I can give back. This is what I can do, and like we were talking earlier a little bit, since I think probably October, I've been doing, I call it like chats with fire, which is essentially like little mini podcasts or like lives, whatever. And I'll have people from the fire community come on and either talk about their business, fitness, mental health. I had a friend of mine came on and talked about like being a mother as a wildland firefighter. And the goal is just to provide a platform for people to come on and be like, hey, I'm in fire and I also do this. Or I'm in fire and I'm also an expert in this.
Mhm.
And it's really interesting, the people who've reached out and they're like, hey, this is super cool. We really like what you're doing. And I'm like, okay, that's something like I can provide to this group of people that I'm part of and that I care about. Because I mean, there's other podcasts out there. There's people doing great things, but it's like I want to be able to add to that and help other people. And being a very people person, like, it's a lot of fun. It's great. I enjoy it. I would much rather do that than be doing some pointless job that I hate.
You're very people purpley.
People purpley. He doesn't like my purple shirt.
Actually, I like it. Um, that's, I was going to say it'd be funny because you're showing that you care about this community, right? Like, and I think that's very important, especially now. People are getting tired of the fake. People are getting tired of things that are not authentic,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. And, not to name the company that you didn't name anyway, it would be funny to see them make a request to try and be now on your show. I'm just dropping that for you. That'd be interesting to see. But um, no, keep going, because like I it's fun because you're now giving these people a platform, and that again, that level of caring is seen, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what people are more attracted to now is, everyone's got a program or a system or a doodad or a product. Why should I buy yours? And more, it's people are seeing, well, because this person actually cares. They give a shit. They are invested in my growth or our community or whatever it may be, right? It's just a product. It's a passion, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. And me personally, I mean, I would say I'm very much an empath. Like I feed off of other people's energy. Like I want to be there to help other people. Like I'll be your hype girl. I will bounce ideas around, like I've hit a point in my life like where I personally receive so much joy from seeing other people succeed and do well. Like that just like I'm smiling about it now. Like that sets me on fire, like Souls on Fire, right? Like that is what sets me on fire, is seeing that. And I've had people, like I had one guy a while back, he messaged me and he was like, you say that you're always out there to like listen to people. Like my crew and we showed up, I think it was a car fire. He was like, we showed up to this fire today and like there were 2 people that were in the car fire and they didn't make it. And like that was really hard. And I had to lead my entire crew through that whole process, like these new kids that have never experienced that. And so like, having that kind of interaction with somebody, like that's an honor that somebody would reach out and share that. Like that's a big deal. I've had other people that are like, yeah, I know somebody that just committed suicide, like a good friend of mine or a firefighter, whatever. And so it's just, to me, it's become so much more than a business. Being a people person, it is about connections and like helping each other through. And I chatted with someone a while back. I think it was Jen, Jen, right? Yeah.
Well, which I know a few. You talking about the breathwork girl? That breathwork girl?
Jen Z, I don't even know how to pronounce her last name.
Yes, I know Colton now.
Yeah. Okay. She and I were talking and she was like, it sounds like the candle is the product, but the business idea is so much bigger than just the product. It's the connections. It's helping people in the community. And I was like, nailed it. Like candles are freaking cool. They're all geared towards fire. Like I love them, but I love the people even more.
Yeah.
Like that's the bread and butter. Yeah.
Watching each other grow. Absolutely. And helping each other. It's funny. The Souls on Fire thing, you in some way contributed to that. When we went to the fly-in in April and we went to that $100 dinner and you said, you're a rad soul. Right. And I was like, man, I really like that. I really like that term. Like that resonated with me, like rad soul. That is cool. And on my way, so we went to the fly-in. I got kind of my teeth kicked in. I learned a lot of good
hot dog.
What's that?
Oh, I said, who didn't?
Yeah. But I was driving home and just that, I was thinking of these different products or different names for what I wanted to do and where I wanted to take my life. And that rad soul was just kind of stuck in my head, and it somehow the Souls on Fire. Right. So yes, I wanted to, that's why I like the people I choose or the people I ask to kind of come on and talk. I see that in them. They're, you're not going to work doing a 9 to 5 just because you want an easy route to the grave, so to speak. And a lot of people do that. We accept the story of what our life is supposed to be like. And just like, okay, well, I'll work in a place for 50 years so I can get a 401k and then like a thing so I can travel for 2 years before I, check out. And there's other people that are like, you know what? I'm going to do what I want. Not only am I going to do what I want, like I'm going to have a lot of fun doing it, and I'm just going to be happy about it and see the magic in things and, go help other people. Yes, it's really cool to see how, like you have grown that. Cause I remember you talking about, what do I do with candles? And I wasn't in the conversation. I had overheard, I think it was like one of the little break off groups we were doing. You were asking somebody maybe about content, and I don't even remember the thing that he said or replied with, but it was just like, dude, freaking send it. Like, start researching this and start researching that and just go do it. And you fucking did. Yeah. Like, after that point, it was just like, here's all the content coming out, and here's all the videos. And it was really cool to see just how you
Thanks, man.
running with it.
Yeah. Well, so I'll be honest. I mean, doing fire, like I said, I do more like seasonal work. So like I'll get hired on either as like they call it AD, which is administratively determined. So it's kind of like being on call in a weird way. Um so that said, like when it's not fire season, like I'm off. And either like I'll find something else to do, or like this year it's just been working on the business and just doing life, right? And that was a big part of it initially, was like, okay, well, I'm in my off season, so I'm just gonna like push forward and go like really, really hard. And then last summer going home, working in dispatch, we were pulling like 11-hour days, doing that, and then coming back, I was staying with my parents, and like, okay, cool, now I need to go make like 50 candles or whatever it is, and being exhausted and having to show up at work at 8 in the morning again, and like it was a lot. But like you said, I mean, I really did just want to get in and start doing stuff, because I was like, there's no playbook for any of this. I mean, there's like coaches, you can read books, you can read stuff online, you can watch videos, you can go to conferences, go to fly-ins, like there's so much out there. But it's just a matter of like diving in. Like if you have the vision, find a way to make that happen. You don't have to do it right the first time, but just do something. That's how you make progress.
Yeah, we can see where we want to go, but you'll never get there without making steps.
Yeah, totally. It's a lot easier said than done, but baby steps. Yeah. Man. Yeah, I mean, that's really cool too. I didn't know just the whole rad soul thing. I don't remember saying that in specifically, but I'm super excited to see how far that you've come, and just like even on a personal level, I feel like there's been a lot of growth, which has been really, really cool to watch, just that whole transformation the past year.
Thank you. It's been well, I think a lot of us, right? There's a lot of people that I've met through the Lion's Den, and then after, through networking. And a lot of people have just the people who are choosing to grow, it's like the universe is feeding it, God, universe, spaghetti monster, whatever you want to believe. It's just like, okay, great, here, grow some more. Okay, great, here, grow some more. I mean, there's so many people that I've met in the Lion's Den, just a year ago, that they look the same, but they are completely different people. They're completely just mindset different, living their life different, just kind of, all right, well, I'm gonna go do this now. I'll figure this out. Because I think a lot of people are now starting to kind of reject that story. We were talking a little bit earlier about our education system, and how, very much so our cultures, and it doesn't matter, United States, anywhere on the planet, when you're born, you come into this life, and then everybody kind of gives you, here's a picture of the world. This is what it's supposed to be. And we don't really question it. We're like, okay, well, I guess if that's the game we're playing, I'll just try and do the best in the game y'all gave me. When really, it's like nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody can say what your life's supposed to be about. Like, everyone's just kind of winging it. So you can reject or accept, like you can build your own idea of what life is supposed to be. Right. And so many this past few years, I think, since there was the pandemic, and there was a lot involved, that there was this big split. Some people were like, oh my gosh, put 15 masks over your face and hunker down. And other people were, that just gave them motivation to, I'm gonna go climb a mountain. I
Yeah.
don't care about this at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, you probably didn't even know it, right? Like you were just like, oh, you're a rad soul. And I was like, oh, I love that word.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I really do enjoy just getting to know people. And
Mhm.
there's, like you said, those people that you've been able to see and you're like, yeah, man, they're out there, like you're doing it.
Mhm.
I I'm trying to think of the right way to say this, but I'm just gonna send it. Like, I think there are people who have that spark.
Mhm.
Like, and I don't really know how to explain the spark other than it's just like it's like this unspoken connection and understanding where you're like, there's so much more than just living, breathing, and dying.
Yeah.
And there's this spark to like get out in the world and do things and experience things and meet people and interact and love deeply and help other people and have deep conversations. Like there's just that spark. Like I don't know, but it's something that I find not honestly, like I don't find it in a lot of people. So when I do, I just want to be like, hey, you got it. Like I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, you got it. Like that's what, like, red soul, that's it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
And ditto.
absolutely.
Like there's,
Thank you.
I think it's you know, we can get wrapped up in a story so much. Um, there was a post I made recently about, it started with be careful what you accept as truth to be true, right?
Mm,
Because we'll live our lives depending on what we accept to be true about our outside
mhm.
experience, and that will also change kind of the nature of the world that we experience, so to speak. And
Mm,
I can say I've been that sparkless person, right? Like
mm,
when I got out of back up in Cliff Notes version. When I worked for a company that worked for Quest, I got very high up the corporate ladder very quickly. I was talented at what I did, and I was able to get there very quick, so to speak. But I
mhm.
learned that it was like I was just living this life of, I had to wear a suit every day. There were things I got in so much trouble. Like my HR file was stacked because I tried to just be myself, and walk around like, oh, hey,
It was a
the one,
spark.
what's that?
I said it was the spark.
Well, yeah, I was just trying to have fun with things. And I got in so much trouble one time because I was doing a training and I was seriously just joking. But this woman was sitting down, she had a cane, and I grabbed the cane and I started like limping with it. And I was like, man, that'd be cool to have a cane. That'd be pimp. Just a simple joke, right? And then I put the cane back where she was sitting. But oh boy, I had to go to HR because I was making fun of this person. And I was like,
Oh
that had nothing to
no.
do with that lady. Like I was just trying to be funny and people laughed. Like I wasn't. So anyhow,
Yeah.
it became very clear that, if I would have continued down that path, I would
Mm,
have to be completely vanilla. Like there's no room
mm,
for originality. There's no room for saying what's on your mind. If someone's like, oh, we're going to go do this with the company thing, you're like, that's a bad idea. They don't like that either. Even if it's legit a bad idea, they're just like, whoa, we want yes men. So
mm,
I think, so wrapping that up a little, is my contention that sometimes we can get so wrapped up in the what we should do, we completely
mhm.
lose sight of who we were supposed to be, who we came into this world, how we wanted to express ourselves, how we wanted to live our lives, what stupid
Yep.
jokes we wanted to tell, what little quirks we wanted to wear, or things about ourselves, the purpley shirts or the black shirt and the blue shorts when it's freaking 40 degrees outside.
Yep.
We get so bogged down and we start to cover up our own light. And it's so
Mm,
nice to see other people when they kind of, I'm just going to do me, it's like, hey,
yeah.
I see
Yeah.
you.
Yep. I mean, even looking at like going to college. So my parents, I mean, when I was growing up, it was like, you're going to go to college. Like, that's just the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And, I did it because mom and dad said so, and, whatever. Um, I feel like there are so many people who do that path because it's what's expected, which, like I appreciate that I did get my 4-year degree. But I think there needs to be some sort of push on what are you passionate about, and what do you really enjoy, and what skills do you have, like what are you good at, what can you hone in on and be successful with that. Because if I would have done what people were telling me to, I would have been a music teacher. I would have been a speech pathologist. I would have been a CNA. Like, I knew when I was younger, like people would suggest those things, and I was like, I don't really want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. No, that doesn't sound fun. No, I'm not excited about that. And for so long, I just felt like there was something wrong with me, because it was like, I have the friend who's the nurse. I have the friend who's the stay-at-home mom with 4 or 5 kids, and she's like super into it or super not into it or whatever. But like, I have the friends that are doing the things, and like, I just felt for so long like, God, when am I going to find my path? Like, I'm doing these things and people think it's cool. And that, it's perspective too. Like, I met so many people who were like, man, that's cool. You grew up in Alaska and then you went to Arizona and then you went back and you did this and you did that and you did all these cool things. And meanwhile, on the inside, I'm like, I can't find out what my path is, like I'm freaking out. You think it's cool, but what the heck, man? And I don't know. I think it's a matter of like, quit shoving that standard, like I said, get up, live, breathe, die. Like, what the heck sets you on fire, and go pursue that and make it work.
Mhm.
As long as I don't know, I don't really say this lightly, but as long as like your thing is out there and you're pursuing it and you can make a living and like get by and be happy or reach your goals, why aren't you doing that? Like,
Right.
why are we all stuck doing things that we don't like because somebody told us to, for this goal that we don't even really want? There's no point.
I would very much so agree with all of that, right? Like that, whatever sets you, we do. It's like we're given this cookie cutter thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it'll make people feel bad or negative emotion or, gosh, I hate this job, or I don't want to do this, or I don't, but they just sit there because someone told them they had to. And does it make you feel good? No.
No.
I think that's your body telling you it doesn't want to do that shit. So
Mm-hmm.
what makes you, like, when you think about it, what makes you feel good? And yeah, people are almost afraid to express themselves, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, where people are afraid to express themselves for who they authentically are or who they truly are, because they fear what someone else is going to say about them. Then they
Yep.
internalize that, oh man, I am living my life wrong, or what. Throw all that away. What do you want to do? Because there is someone out there who freaking loves being a firefighter and climbing up the mountains, and they chew on bark and they throw axes at trees in their spare time. They love that shit. They were made for that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
There's people who absolutely get their heart's desire by being you said a speech, I don't remember the second word,
Oh,
but
speech pathologist.
pathologist.
Yeah.
They love
Right.
it. They wake up just
Yeah.
like, I'm going to go help somebody speak better today, or more clearly, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But if it's not for you, don't do it because someone else thinks you should. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you got your own life and you have opinions, but that doesn't light me up. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go here now and do the things that light me up, and just finding that. And once oh yeah, like you said, once you start finding that, it's things just kind of get out of the way, and it looks scary. Oh, you got to figure out this, you got to figure out this, you got to do the thing. There's this hurdle, and there's this. Okay, well, we're going to go that way anyway. So let's figure out how to get over that hurdle and figure that thing out we need to know, and
Mm-hmm.
let's keep going. And Again, nobody's life is perfect. Nobody's like, I made it to the top and I'm just never sad.
Right. That doesn't exist.
But it's so much more fulfilling
Hmm.
than, I would argue, it's so much more fulfilling than if you would have settled for being a nurse, or,
Yep.
knowing that kind of wasn't what truly lit you up.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I okay, so I'm gonna borrow from a book. I think it's Gary Chapman that does the five love languages.
Mhm.
Um, have you ever read the book?
I've I believe I've read parts of it, and I know
Okay.
I've done like cliff notes of it,
Okay.
so to speak.
Okay. I've read most of it. It was a while back, but he talks about your love tank. And it's basically like your, how do I say this? It's like how full you are, right? So like right now I'm feeling pretty full. Like I can go out, I can help other people, I can be of service, I can do things. Like I have enough in me that is like overflowing where I can help other people. But at some point, I'm going to hit that level where I'm like, oh, I'm exhausted. I've been helping everybody else out. I've been feeding my five crying children. I have been doing laundry for my entire family. And my mother in law called, and my best friend's dog is sick. And I'm like exhausted from giving of myself. At that point, my love tank is empty.
Mhm.
So what do I do to fill that tank back up? I think relating it to like the whole purpose or job conversation that we're having, if you think about all of the daily things in general that we go through, like raising the kids or the bills or traveling or, whatever it is that your picture looks like, we're already having to fill our cups so we can do all those things. Now you add your job into that, assuming like you have a job and it's a decent part of your life, if that's also not something that's fulfilling, then like how do you expect that cup to ever become full? Like you're dealing with all of this over here and every day going to this job. This is not fulfilling. You're definitely not going to be fulfilled by the time you finish this and go home. Like that whole that whole cycle, it's just so repetitive, and I feel like that's occurring so much in our society, and it's such a like it's just a breakdown. There's so many people who aren't happy for what? Like who told, like we said earlier, like why are you not happy? Who told you that you can't be happy? Like there's a million ways to skin a cat. Like if you're not doing it the right way, do it a different way and make sure you're enjoying it. Maybe not maybe not for skinning a cat, but
I
like you
felt
get my
that
story.
sideways
You
look,
get my
but
drift.
it still made sense. It still made sense.
Okay. That
Um,
sounded way worse than I intended, but you know what I mean.
Absolutely, yeah. People have these things that it's so fascinating because people will stay, like you say, there's jobs that people hate that it's like it robs you of your happiness, so to speak.
Mhm.
Well, why do you stay in it? Well, I stay in it because it's got a good retirement plan. Okay, well, what's that going to do you for? Or good, what's that going to do for you? Oh, okay, well, when I'm this age, then I can kind of just do nothing and I'll be, safe. And it's like we're sacrificing what we truly want out of life. You got however much time you got, go have fun. And instead of doing that, people are like, well, what's the safest route I can get into the grave? Because you're going there anyway. Every single one of us at some point is going to wind up in the dirt. So do you want
Mhm.
to take the safe road where it's like, oh, well, I sat in an air conditioned bus and I kind of saw, I drove by the Grand Canyon? Or do you want to like zip down, line down into the Grand Canyon, freaking climb up the other side, parachute back into it, right? Walk through a whitewater raft the rest of the way down, and you're still going
Mhm.
to end up at the same place the bus did, right? The bus will take you to the same place, or you can get some scratch and bruises and maybe even not make it all the way through. But what a better experience that was, and the enjoyment, instead of just kind of like, oh, look, oh, that's pretty.
Mhm.
Oh, cool, that's pretty. Time to go to my
Yeah.
work now. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have a job. I don't think I understand you're not saying that either. It's just that find
Right. Yeah.
that fills up your love tank, that you feel connected with, that you feel you're giving back, that you feel, I don't know, lights you up instead of, well, now I got to go do this thing. And then like, flip all that. You came into this life
Yeah.
to smile mostly. So find the shit that makes you smile.
Yeah. Yeah. I've spent enough, not like years and years, but I've spent enough time being upset with what I was doing, where I was, who I was around. And that ultimately robbed me of so much, I feel like, because I allowed myself to listen to what somebody else thought I should be doing. I allowed that to guide my choices, my decisions, and it did not serve me for a positive outcome. Like, I mean, and we talked about this earlier, like it's in perspective. Like, I think both of us feel the same way. Like, you, at some point, you have to look back on like the negative things and use that as a learning opportunity to grow. But ultimately, like, if you're not happy and you're stuck in that situation, like, you have the power to change that. There's always tomorrow. There's always the next day. Like, there's always a new opportunity to pick up and do something different. It's scary, but so is the thought of just being stagnant and that's your life and then you die and that's it. That's
Yep.
equally as terrifying.
I would say that's more terrifying to ride the bus
Yeah.
and never have been able to do a zip line into the Grand Canyon. I would say that's a much worse tour, so to speak, if you were
Mm-hmm.
relating it to a life. I wanted to make a comment. You had said, it's kind of interesting when you talk to people and they say, oh gosh, it's so cool that you grew up in Alaska, then you went to Arizona, then you bounced around here, then you did the thing, and then you did the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And for you looking back at it, you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of cool. You had to learn some things in that process.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I wanted to bring up is because I felt that for a long time with the way my life had sort of played out. I grew up in a religious cult. I joined the Marines to get away from drugs because I was kicked out of home and I ended up doing dumb things. I
Mm-hmm.
saw some not nice things when I was there. And then I kind of got into this um, very toxic relationship, ended up having kids, having to grow, all these things that I could point to and be like, oh man, that was a rough path.
Mm-hmm.
What I've come to appreciate is that that's exactly the path that brought me the understanding I needed now to go out and influence change.
Mm-hmm.
So just offering that up. Sometimes we get shown
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to understand why the forest has to burn down, like we were talking about earlier. But then,
Yeah.
give it a couple decades and you'll see exactly why it had to
Yeah.
happen that way, because everything came back so much more green or stronger, or whatever term you want to use.
Mm-hmm.
Like those things, your degree in communication, you're working with people with speech impediments, your service to the fire department, dispatch, like these all just added. It's like I know you don't play many video games, but there's video games where it's like you can go fight the dragon. That's the the big quest, is you got to go slay
Mm-hmm.
this dragon, save the princess. But you can also just go help this guy rescue his chickens. And when you go help this guy rescue his chickens, well, you get a little bit stronger, right? And then you have this other side quest where they're like, oh, thieves stole my cot. And so you got to go over and get the thing back from the thieves, and you get a little bit stronger and you get another item.
Yeah.
And then when you actually get on your journey, well, now you're so much stronger and more prepared to go tackle whatever it is you came into this life for, right? Or whatever thing you want to change, or whatever influence you want to have. You picked up all these little tools in college or in being homeschooled and not paying attention to like all these things
Mm-hmm.
add to your character so that you're better equipped to go forward. And now, yeah, this is what I do. I help people out. I sell candles and I sell other stuff related to fire service stuff. And I am able to give back to people, and I can share my story and get firefighters on and help them kind of grow themselves beyond maybe what the stories they're getting told is possible for their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely I've come to that realization now. If it would have been maybe about 3 years ago, I still could have looked back at that time, like early 20s and been like, yeah, that was kind of a waste. Like, didn't really have a path, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it is what it is. But now I'm able to look back and, like I said, like learn from that and
Mhm.
realize, you know, that really difficult thing that I went through, that gave me a better appreciation for XYZ,
Yes.
or that really like crappy breakup that I went through, that gives me a better grounding for my current relationship and like my future like marriage, whatever it is in the past that I thought was aimlessly wandering around. I'm now able to look back and be like, I just took some detours. I didn't have the yellow brick road, and that's okay, because like look at where I'm at now.
Yep.
Like I mean, I feel like I'm happy with my life, with my path. Do I have it all planned out? Absolutely not. Am I physically where I want to be? Absolutely not. But like I'm good. And I've learned from the past, and I'm moving forward, and I am trying to follow the happiness, follow what brings me joy and what I can do for other people.
What sets your soul
Like,
on fire?
bam.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I think that's
Mm.
so very important. And it's really cool to have seen you follow that, right? And grow with that and just keep going, right? It's, every time you're like, oh, I'm going to start a podcast. And then you start this chats with fire. And there's one, I meant to watch it and I saved it or took note of it, but there's one, you had an author of a PTSD book. And I was like, holy crap,
Mm.
I wanted to interact with that guy. So anywho, just keep following that path because you're lighting up others, like by
Cool. Thank you.
being yourself and just kind of figuring it out like we all do, but figuring out in a way that you want to, right? You're
Hmm.
showing others. What's that quote? It's like, by liberating ourselves, we automatically give others permission to do the same.
Hmm.
Imagine how many little seeds you're dropping along the path that are now inspiring others to, I want to go do this. I want to go do this. I don't have to be confined to what somebody
Hmm.
else told me I had to do.
Yeah. That's a big part of the reason that I wanted to do that whole chats with fire too, is like within the wildfire community. I mean, that links everybody together. It's the job, it's the field, but so many people have amazing, unique stories. Like that guy, Kevin. Um, he's he's got amazing stories. Some of the stuff that he's experienced and encountered in his journey, like it's amazing. And so to be able to, like I said, just being able to provide a platform so his seeds can be planted for other people. Or like Robin, I just had on, what's today, Monday? So Saturday, I just had her on, and she was talking about being in fire, sustaining an injury, and then working on like health and fitness. And she's now wanting to go out and like help the entire like wildland fire like reconstruct their views on health, fitness, nutrition. Like that's going to plant some seeds. And so like, God, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, but just like it's so cool that we all have that much of a ripple effect,
Mm-hmm.
and to be part of that and just like help spread the seeds, like that's it just makes me so excited. Mm.
I know I get a little preachy sometimes, but I totally I love that for so many different ways, right? It's
Mm.
or for so many different reasons. But I always see that as, you followed your gut. You followed a higher calling that, it may look like you're just making candles, but you're really planting positive things that the world needs right now, right? And you're involved in whatever major or minor way in driving that positive change, right? And that's
That's the hope.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. Like I have no idea. I'm trying to just, listen to
I
my gut.
appreciate it. Thank
Like,
you.
man, we hope we're doing the right thing, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I think that's what I, don't know, I talk big on faith. I There have been many times in my life where it's been kind of the only thing that sustained me, so to speak.
Hmm.
But I don't know. When we were talking about the fire earlier, it's in the moment, in the moment when you're looking at there's a section of forest that's being destroyed. It's not a good thing. It's a bad kind of image, so to speak. But
Hmm.
then you look at it, kind of you zoom out a little bit, and then you zoom out a little bit, and then you zoom out a little bit, and it's like, wow, what a beautiful process that led to this, much stronger, much more dense forest where life returned, so to speak. And I see
Hmm.
that in a lot of the folks I've interacted with as of late, just following their gut, trying to help others, trying to do what they can to, in whatever little way, like, let's just make this planet a little bit better than the way we've been treating it. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Mm.
keep going. Keep
Thank
going.
you.
Keep following that path because you're on it, and it's really cool to see. So um what's next from Dana, an anchor and flank?
Yeah. So we talked about a little earlier. I have a spring collection as far as the candles go that I'm hoping to have fine-tuned maybe within like the next month. It might take a little longer. My mom's actually coming in to help me with like wedding dress shopping and some other stuff, so that might push it out. But I do have that coming up. My goal is at this point, I would like to do seasonal releases.
Mhm.
So I have like my original candles that are geared like all towards fire, but then I also want to do like spring, summer, fall, winter, just have a couple to put out, just variety, keep it interesting. Um, I also have a newsletter that we were we were talking a little bit about. I'm really working on getting some of the back end stuff set up. So, fun fact with building a business, like between websites and emails and all that kind of stuff, there's so much back end work that goes into it. Um, I'm currently working on that with the
Sure.
goal of eventually having a newsletter and then sending it out to people. Um, I don't have a timeline on that, but that is in the works. So the plan with that is essentially um, more connection, like just being able to say, hey, this is what's going on with the business. This is behind the scenes. Um, maybe include stuff about chats with fire. Um, I want to be able to have more personal interaction than just here's a picture of this thing and let me write a caption on Facebook or Instagram. Like have a little more depth, I guess.
That's good counsel.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had those back end
So
systems like not set up for a while. So A, I understand the struggle, and B, that's a good reminder to get my own ass moving on things. I
yeah,
was
well,
stuck
we'll
in
have to tag team.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting. What I found the funniest, I guess, was that I'm an IT guy. Like I'm
Mm.
not a web guy. So there's many different areas inside the world of computers, but uh,
Mhm.
I was an IT guy fixing computers for many years, and I still run into things, and I'm like, how in the hell does this not integrate? Well, how do I get this thing over there? And it's just sometimes because it's those back end systems. It's just like things you never thought you'd have to set up and things you got to keep going on and maintain daily, so to speak. It's like, oh, I thought this would
Yeah.
be here.
You know, I think it's funny too, like for anybody who's out there building a business, like you probably know this, but the amount of back end work that it takes, like people think, oh, this business looks really cool on the outside. There's these pictures or this video, like this guy's doing Souls on Fire. He's finding himself in the jungle, and you're like, Okay, cool. So there's this website, there's apparel. I'm having to do emails. I'm having to set this stuff up. I'm doing, like you're doing plane tickets and coordinating and all these things. And like, okay, there was no formal or informal, specifically speaking, education on whatever this mess is that we're building.
Yep.
It's a
Just
lot. It's fun,
follow
but it's a
that
lot.
voice and keep stepping.
Yeah, every day. Every day.
Well,
Okay.
I think I'm going to wrap up our time together for today.
All right.
Thank you so much for being on. And
Yeah.
for anyone listening, watching, I'll put all the links in the description, how you can follow Dana, how you can get a hold of her freaking awesome product. The morning wood candle is just, that is my favorite. Like it smells amazing. Uh, but anywho,
I
yeah,
love it.
thank you so much. And we will have to get together again soon because I think there's a lot we could talk
Yeah.
about in
Oh,
far as
yeah.
far as like cross helping communities, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, again, thank you for your
Good.
time. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.